Things are getting ugly, as you said it, as this legal battle intensifies. Now, both sides are accusing each other of misconduct. When JayZ, one of the most influential hip-hop artists of all time, he came out swinging against the allegations, accusing attorney Tony Busby of extortion by seeking money before going public with false and outrageous allegations. He also demanded the accuser's identity be revealed.
Can't hide skeletons in the closet forever.
Tony Busby, who also represents 120 accusers against Sean Diddy Combs, filed this letter in response, accusing JayZ, whose real name is Sean, alleges Mr. Carter's company, Rock Nation, and his counsel have bribed my clients to file lawsuits against my firm, threatened former clients, impersonated state officials, and engaged in other behavior far beyond the pale of acceptable conduct, unquote. Busby is facing 2 new lawsuits, one claiming he gave a woman a venereal disease and another claiming he took 74% of a client's overall settlement.
Seems like a mess right now. And until a federal judge actually receives testimony, meaning witnesses coming to court, evidence coming out under oath, it's very hard to predict what's going to happen.
Criminal defense attorney Dimitri Gorin says both sides can make all the allegations they want, but in the end, it will come down to evidence and credibility of the parties involved.
If I'm the federal judge, evidences, let's see what the truth is.
And Dimitri says that the attorneys are using aggressive tactics to preserve the millions of dollars in legal fees. Now, JayZ's attorneys are obviously trying to make sure that this case is dismissed. Send it back to you in the studio.
Attorney Tony Busby, renowned for handling high-profile cases, is now representing Jane Doe in her allegations against JayZ. Busby accuses JayZ's team of using intimidation tactics, including bribery, filing frivolous lawsuits, impersonating officials, and pressuring witnesses to silence his client and manipulate the legal process. The claims highlight a contentious legal battle ahead.
Raping her at an after-party for the 2000 MTV Video Music Awards when she was 13 years old. But attorney Alex Spiro says the allegations are, quote, all a fantasy. CNN's Elizabeth Wagmeister has the latest from New York.
JayZ's attorney is doubling down on a denial that his client ever raped a 13-year-old girl. Now, JayZ has already fiercely denied these accusations, and his legal team has already asked the court to dismiss this case entirely. But now, for the first time speaking to reporters since these accusations came out, JayZ's attorney, Alex Spiro, held a press conference of sorts. There was a private meeting at JayZ's Rock Nation offices in New York City where CNN was invited to watch a presentation put on by JayZ's attorney, where he had a PowerPoint where he showed different details that he says disprove Jane Doe's case. Let's take a look at some of what he said.
This is not an account of inconsistencies. I wanted everybody to understand that this never happened. This is completely false. You have to look at the timeline. You have to look at the timeline. So there's an old expression that time doesn't lie. Everything else that I'm talking about, these glaring inconsistencies, these are not minor inconsistencies. These are not minor problems with this story. This is utter falsehoods. Time never lies. And so if you look at the time, no matter what, this couldn't have happened. It's not even possible that this happened.
Now, as you heard there, JayZ's attorney saying that these aren't just inconsistent.
Busby asserts these actions aim to discredit the plaintiff and divert attention from the gravity of the allegations, undermining the case's focus on serious claims against JayZ.
Doe's case, he's saying that the entire thing is false. In fact, he says it's not even possible that JayZ was there. an after party for the MTV Video Music Awards in the year 2000. Now, this after party, she said, was held at a White House that was outside of the city. Well, JayZ's attorney actually showed photos of JayZ that night at an after party, but it was in New York City. So he says, if you look at the timeline, it's not possible that JayZ was in the suburbs at this alleged after party because he was photographed being somewhere else. Now, in her initial complaint, Jane Doe also said that she got to this alleged after party by getting into a limo from a driver outside of the MTV VMAs who said that they worked for Sean Combs. Well, today, JayZ's attorney is saying that's not possible because the limousine line was barricaded by the police and fans were not able to access it. Now, I reached out to Jane Doe's attorney. His name is Tony Busby. He says that he is representing over 120 accusers of Sean Diddy Combs. This is the first accuser to come forward and name JayZ, but he tells me that he stands by his client. He says that they are still vetting her. But when I asked about the vetting process, here's what he told me. He said that 4 individuals at his firm interviewed the client and checked details. He says that a background check was run on Jane Doe and that his firm actually engaged a seasoned investigator to vet some details she disclosed to us. And he said, quote, those results were consistent with what the client had told us. He also says that she has signed 2 separate affidavits, and he tells me, quote, courts exist to resolve factual disputes. Our client remains adamant about.
The lawsuit focuses on events allegedly occurring over 2 decades ago when Jane Doe, the plaintiff, was just 13 years old. She claims the traumatic experience caused lasting emotional scars. The case has drawn significant attention due to the seriousness of the allegations and JayZ's prominence as a cultural figure, adding a high-profile dimension to the legal battle.
The civil lawsuit filed against Combs in October was amended Sunday to include JayZ. At a Video Music Awards after party in 2000. In a blistering statement, JayZ accuses Jane Doe's attorney of trying to blackmail him. He said further, quote, these allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. Would you not agree? He added, my only heartbreak is for my family. My wife and I will have to sit our children down, one of whom is at the age where her friends will see the press and ask questions about the nature of these claims and explain the cruelty and greed of people. Joining us now, Joey Jackson, CNN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor. There's a lot to unpack here. Joey, I want to start with just the statement from JayZ, which is so forceful in its denial. I just read a teeny part of it. It's long, where he says that they should file a criminal complaint. Is that even possible at this point?
So based on the allegations, Jessica, good morning, good to see you. I think that it certainly could be. Why do I say that? Now, he, of course, is more than annoyed, would be an understatement. Yeah. He has a family and he has a lot to protect, including his brand. But to the extent that he's saying, hey, come after me criminally, that could be likely. Why do I say that? What that means in English is that it's saying that he held her down, raped her, and that, of course, the allegation is that Mr. Combs did the same thing. And so if those facts are actually accurate, it would require an investigation by prosecutors. And if true, right, you could pursue it criminally. Now, with respect to the evidentiary value, yes, it happened 24 years ago, right, more than 24 years ago. But in the allegations, there's a few things. Number one, there's allegation that another celebrity was present at the time, right, in addition to other people. Number two, there's the claim by the victim, right, that she left, that she went and she was seen by a gas attendant who saw her in distress. Number three, that she phone called her dad who showed up, the 13-year-old, and now removed her. So civil complaint, simply allegations, needs to be proven in a court of law, but if true, it could rise to the level of criminality, and, you know, we'll see what happens or if the DA looks and investigates.
So what happens now?
So what happens now is this is simply a civil complaint.
JayZ's legal team has dismissed the allegations as unfounded, citing inconsistencies and the absence of specific details like dates and locations to question the claim's credibility. In response, attorney Tony Busby argued that survivors of childhood trauma often face difficulty recalling exact details, emphasizing that such gaps should not diminish the seriousness of the allegations.
Now, the distinction, Jessica, between civil and criminal, of course, is that civil is for monetary damages, right? The system can only reward you with money. There's allegations that this 13-year-old is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, suffered depression, etc. So now you go to fact-finding, right? Before that, just briefly, there was a demand letter sent. And a demand letter is a letter being sent by a lawyer saying, hey, I don't have to sue you. We can sit, we can mediate it. If we reach an agreement, it never sees the light of day. JayZ saying, I don't care about your demand letter. I look at it as blackmail. You want to sue me, sue me. You want to look at it criminally, look at it criminally, but it'll go through the fact-finding process. If a trial is necessary to determine the facts, that's what will happen, but it'll be deemed civil. No indication at this point as to whether or not any criminal investigation will ensue as a result of this.
Yeah, and JayZ came back incredibly forcefully against these allegations and really singled out that attorney as well for being, I'm paraphrasing here, but greedy, saying he's out to get money, and calling that letter essentially blackmail.
Yeah, and in addition to that, Jessica, also suing the attorney, saying he's intimidating. Is they send them out as a matter of protocol and practice so that you can expedite the process. At the same time, there's certain ethical standards that you have to use, and you have to have a good faith factual belief that this is true. Now, you can argue this complaint was filed in October, right? Could have mentioned JayZ then. You didn't. Why? It was amended now to include him. Are the factual assertions true? Are they fact or fiction? Is it a money grab or not? All of that will be litigated in a court of law, but according to JayZ, this never happened, is pure fiction. It is a money grab, and he's fighting for his name, reputation, and certainly innocence and justice in his view, which is he didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, and you touched on point two that I wanted to ask you about, which was that this was an amendment to this already existing lawsuit. What are people to take away from that? The fact that they're coming back and adding to this now with this specific name?
Yeah, you know, Jessica, so it depends. That's also common. You could amend lawsuits, right, as a matter of course, and you do, to include certain factual allegations. The interesting thing to me in terms of your question and the takeaway, if you had this information about JayZ, it happened allegedly in September of 2000, why not include it in the original complaint? What happened between October and now that necessitated you putting in, and it's a question of credibility. Was he celebrity A, right, as was noted in the October complaint? Is this pure fiction? And what's interesting in the complaint is he really, that is the lawyer, tries to tie JayZ to Mr. Combs in so many ways, right? Birds of a feather is the argument that he's making. You can make that argument. You need the facts to sustain it. Let's see if they come up with anything.
Busby referenced legal precedents recognizing that imperfect recall does not undermine a plaintiff's account, stressing that the lack of perfect memory should not invalidate the allegations in this case.
The defendant, but it was just refiled today to include JayZ now, whose real name is Sean Carter. Of course, he's the husband of Beyonce. The anonymous accuser alleging the assault occurred after she was driven to an after party following the MTV Video Music Awards. The suit says she was offered a drink that made her feel, quote, woozy, lightheaded, and felt like she needed to lie down. Shortly after, the suit claims JayZ and Diddy entered the room where she was resting, eventually sexually assaulting her. And now, just in the last hour, we are hearing from JayZ and his team of lawyers. They are denying the claim and say that they are the victims of blackmail, saying, quote, I will not give you one red penny, and my only heartbreak is for my family. Joining us now to break this all down as it's happening, News Nation Law and Justice contributor, former FBI Special Agent Jennifer
it's because JayZ came out so strongly and said, listen, I'm going to go after you. And then he filed a suit quickly on the heels of the other suit against Busby and the accuser. So because of that, you're seeing this taunting sort of back and forth in the media.
Do you believe that we may see JayZ face a judge? And if so, when would we see him in court? Any indication there yet?
Well, we're definitely going to see him, I believe, on this suit. There are so many details. You know, they describe a house, a driveway, another woman being there. They discuss about a driver taking her. So she's locked into this story now, and that means there could be additional witnesses to corroborate her story.
The media's response to the lawsuit has been split. Some outlets question the plaintiff's claims, while others highlight the larger issue of accountability in the entertainment industry. Public opinion is divided, with some fans supporting JayZ, while others criticize his legal tactics as unethical, raising broader concerns about fairness and justice in high-profile cases.
Yeah, I know you've mentioned the specificity of the details really stand out to you in this filing. Do you find it strange that the filing originally did not include JayZ, just Diddy, and now JayZ is suddenly added today? I mean, does that make JayZ's addition in any way less credible, or is this not, in fact, so unusual?
It's not unusual when they're still digging up information and facts to prove the allegations that they're trying to make. In addition, remember, this 13-year-old says there's a female there. That has not been disclosed either. That will be very interesting because she could be culpable in this as well.
Yeah, that is interesting. Do you expect we are going to be seeing other celebrity names added and refiled in other lawsuits involving Diddy?
I do. I think this really has a web that wraps around many different people, and I think we're going to see a lot more people named.
Tell me more about the details of any potential blackmail. We do see JayZ and his team really coming out swinging, making that allegation. Wouldn't that be a fairly easy allegation to prove? I mean, if in fact Busby reached out trying to blackmail him, wouldn't they have the receipts for that?
Well, what happened was Busby reached out and offered a mediation session, said that his client was amenable to that. I think that is what JayZ is sort of extrapolating as being some sort of, extortion or bribery situation. And really, that shouldn't be seen in that light.
Jennifer Coffendorfer, I know we'll be tracking this. Appreciate your time tonight as always.
The case has reignited conversations about the Hashimoto movement and the challenges survivors face in seeking justice. The plaintiff's courage to speak out, despite potential public scrutiny and backlash, has been praised by advocacy groups. However, critics question the timing and motivations of the lawsuit, raising concerns about its legitimacy and the potential impact on all parties involved.
I sat on this couch. So who's next? Y'all don't see the lineup?
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, we see the lineup. I'm just waiting to see who's next. JayZ is setting Diddy up. He lined up D. Haven, stole his life and identity. He lined up Big L, stole his life and identity. He lined up Dame Dash, stole his life, identity, and took his love. Lined up R. Kelly. He wants to be the one.
Yeah, shout out D. Haven. He actually hit us up, wanted to tell this story.
You need to talk to D. Haven.
Yeah, we need to talk to him.
I told you that last year when I put you on the phone with him.
You did.
I want you to think about this. Allegedly, Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce, who was struggling. Let's just say allegedly that happened. Now I want you to think about 106th Park with Mary J. Blige. Free, who is a victim of Sean Carter.
Yeah.
Mary J. Blige, who is a victim of Sean Combs, are sitting there talking about the death of Aaliyah amongst each other. Think about that. You got a Diddy victim, you got a JayZ victim, and you got a superstar gone. They know what happened. And yet, they had to sit there and have that conversation like they didn't know who did it. Mm. Think of the power of that moment. Think about Claudia Jordan right now. Claudia Jordan don't ever mention my mother name. She mentioned it yesterday. Talking about why people are afraid to come forward. You mean like you? You was Diddy girl. Corey was JayZ girl. Why don't you claim your friend?
Comparisons between JayZ and Diddy arise from their parallel paths to fame, influence, and controversies. Both have created empires spanning music, fashion, alcohol, and more. However, their personal lives and public personas have frequently faced intense scrutiny, making them central figures in both entertainment and criticism.
So, Jack, when you say
book, bling, and died as soon as it made the bestsellers list.
Gabriel Union, and when you mention things like JayZ's time is coming for him, then I look at Beyonce, and I say that women. But she remade Jolene.
That bitch. I'm gonna tell you the song she should have remade. It's a hit. It would have done great for her. She should have tried it on. Tammy Wynette. Classic. Stand by your man. Don't act like you don't know that hell. Remake that. Stand by that. That's a real country hit. Jolene, nice. But it has a ring to it. Stand by your man. Yeah. Whoops and disrespects you with other like Kathy Coriana White.
Mm. All right, well, let's do it like
who was
this.
Actually carrying his baby while you was faking it.
Yeah.
Diddy has recently faced multiple allegations of misconduct, with several lawsuits filed against him, including cases represented by Tony Busby. Critics argue that Diddy's wealth and influence have enabled him to evade accountability for years, raising concerns about justice and the impact of his power on legal proceedings.
Husband don't want to put his seed inside of you. He put it in everybody else. Wild in this world, yo.
It's funny, you open up Beyonce's internet, it just gets weird.
Beyonce's internet.
That's what we're calling
that
it.
That belongs to the devil. Unless you calling that the devil, she ain't nothing but an employee.
Oh.
A half of which dumbass bitch.
So You know, it's funny that it's crazy you say these
I
things.
know nobody want to accept that bitch.
I think
she went and killed the girl Cats.
Okay.
A girl went to court and charged her with extreme witchcraft. She was hypnotized. She was drugged. Beyonce came and she was in there eating on her and shit while she was asleep. You know, snacking on his bitch, killing people cats. And guess what? They wouldn't give her the restraining order. They just told her to stay away from Beyonce and work for somebody else. Guess what? She's having a hard time finding work too. Which is interesting because she's a brilliant musician. And she was trained at the esteemed Berklee College of Music. Handpicked by my very good friend, Terry Lynn Carrington, Dr. Terry Lynn Carrington, who put together Beyonce's entire female band, which was Matthew Knowles' idea because he couldn't get Beyonce to stop people. Impulse control issues? I don't know.
Okay,
I'm saying, Sean Carter, you're a piece of shit. Taking Pimp C wasn't bad enough. Why the fuck did that house burn up? Who the fuck goes to their childhood house for a visit and the shit goes up in flames?
That was very weird. The next day, within a week?
The next day.
The next day.
And still, no real investigation on how the house just went up in flames.
Man.
I guess they paid y'all off. Like they paid y'all off for that Astro World.
Hey, man.
Weirdo.
Oof.
I don't get no what you got in your head, that neural link. You'll never outthink me. Ever. All I do is frustrate your AI. You can't quantify me. You can't even control your wife. You gonna handle a bitch like me. You can't even control that goofy bitch. You should have done a better job. Maybe she wouldn't have had to lose her mind on Kathy. Because you ain't protecting you. You're protecting her. Through. It would be a Louisiana affair. And then when Diddy goes and gets into trouble and you need to convince the white people you're still in control, you bring Kendrick Lamar, who we already know you don't like for the way he embarrassed you on Don't Kill My Vibe, the remix. But we also know
Up in the closet.
you got ties in TDE, Sean Carter, and you got a switch on top. I know that. I know that for a fact. Just like why you keep having artists that want to jump off of high places. Shout out to Ab Soul.
Oh.
What was her name? Alori Joe?
Oh.
That woman threw herself from a control tower and impaled herself with spikes right before she was about to sign the TDE. And her fiance, Ab Soul, threw himself off the freeway out of grief and survived.
Mm-hmm.
Why are all of the artists at TDE so unhappy? You got some of the best artists in the West there. Why did Kendrick Lamar feel the need to leave and start his own? And why is he able to release more records now that he's not at TDE?
So
Interesting.
let me ask you, as you're on this topic.
I tell you one thing, Curtis Jackson, you are a setup king. And I promise you this, any little nigga that you're enlisting to go down to New Orleans and start trouble during the Super Bowl, that will stop. That will stop. I'm sick and tired of you. And the truth is, they only like you for your money.
Let me ask you, Jack, on a surface level, you're saying that Kendrick being in the Super Bowl versus, let's say, Wayne, which was like a shoe-in for the city, that